I think I'm going to miss that intro because it's our last week of Pro Tip. Hey, everybody. So, guys, for 3 weeks, we've been in this series called Pro Tip. It is all about how wisdom is the one thing that can make you better at anything. And do not worry. If you've missed a week, you've missed all of it. Each week has kind of been its own thing, so you're right in the right place. We're going to be talking about something tonight because here's the thing, guys. Words matter. Dramaticism. Okay, let me make sure that you guys are in here. Okay, everybody, we got to be really dramatic about this. We're going to do words matter in the most dramatic way that you can. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Words matter. I saw some sassy dramaticism. I heard some, I don't really care about doing this, but I'm just going to say it. And then I heard some people going, because you didn't say anything. That's okay. Guys, have you ever been in a conversation with people and said, I cannot stand that person? You're talking about somebody and you're saying, I can't stand that person. To seem really cool with one group of friends, but then in real life, you're actually friends with that person in real life. So, you talk about how you, can't stand a person or you're making fun of somebody, but that you're actually friends with them in real life, and so you're kind of talking about them behind your back. Or maybe, in the other way, have you ever given a compliment to somebody and learned that it changed their entire day? And that it made their day, and that was how, they were having a really bad day, and you made it so much better by just that one compliment. Or maybe you started sharing about something you're really passionate about, and then you realize that nobody's actually listening to you. And then so you kind of just mumble off, and nobody noticed that you just stopped talking. Or have you sent a text or a DM that if the other person screenshotted it and shared it with other people, that you would probably have regrettable consequences? And friends, words matter even more when we're in conflict together. So when it comes to arguing, who loves arguing? So many hands went up. You shouldn't love arguing. Guys, you guys are funny. Okay, how many of you have ever been accused of using words to hurt others? You do not have to raise your hand. Don't raise your hand. It felt, maybe you said something and it felt really, really good in that moment, but it wasn't until later that day you thought, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that thing, and you kind of regretted it. Or how many of you have ever known what it feels like to say something without thinking? Something blurts out, or you say something, only to immediately regret what you just said, because you weren't thinking and you just said it. Maybe you blurted out your opinion about something and didn't realize the person you were talking about was right there. Or maybe you once you got the full story or context, you kind of felt like kind of a jerk for blurting out that one thing because you didn't have the full story, right? Sometimes I get to the other side of the conflict, and I just simply wish that I would have said things differently, or I wouldn't have said things, or maybe I wouldn't have said what I said, and maybe you guys can relate to that. When we're in conflicts with each other, there's just sometimes that some things that we say to where we look back on it, and we're like, that was not a good idea, right? Guys, everybody handles conflicts differently. Some of us get really quiet. Some of us yell and get really loud. Some people get really defensive and turn the blame on others, right? But no matter what you do in a conflict, words are really truly the thing that takes center stage. Words have power in your relationships with friends, family, teachers, and even strangers that you meet. Guys, which is important to remember because I doubt most of us wake up and just choose violence, right? Choose to wish and hope to be harsh with our words. So let's take a look at this video to talk more see what I mean on this. There's a video next up there.
Most of us aren't trying to be jerks, but the way we say things can rub people the wrong way and create tension in our closest relationships. It kind of works this way. We all understand how predictive text or search history works, right? You type something out enough times or search a specific phrase enough, and it's stored in the memory of your phone. Then, anytime you go to type, your phone tries to be helpful by bringing up what it remembers from what you said or typed before. Like for me, let's just see what happens. I'm gonna text my buddy Shane. Shane, there he is. And then I'm gonna say, hey, and then we're just gonna hit the middle. Ready? Here we go. Hey, man, I'm just checking back on the phone call to confirm you know what you're doing. Okay, I'm not sure what that says about me, probably that I'm a control freak, but you get the point. Words have a way of sticking with people, like they stick with our phones. No matter how hard we try to take words back or clear their history, they tend to leave a lasting impact on the people who receive them, especially when they're harsh, hurtful, or just plain mean. But here's the most important part. One way our words with others are different than predictive text is that some words only need to be said once to do some pretty significant damage.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard about the analogy that you can get 100 compliments from 100 different people about something, but then it's that one negative thing that somebody says about the thing that contradicts every other 100 compliments that you get, right? It only takes that one word. It's the exact same reason why I can still remember exactly some really harsh things people said to me 10, 15 years ago. Even though they might have forgotten 15 seconds after saying that, or maybe it was something they said in anger but didn't really mean, it's still something that I remember and still feel bad about to this day, right? Maybe some of you have lost friends over the words that you've said or texted. Maybe some of you have gotten into huge arguments with your parents, and in the moment, because of the words that they used, or maybe because of the words that you used, and that's caused some damage in your relationships with them. Or maybe some of you have teachers or coaches or leaders that you kind of notice that they're always a little bit on edge around you because they feel like you always have something disrespectful, or not even disrespectful, but snarky to say to them when you come into the room with them. You're always the one to, when they say something, you gotta put in something else. Or when somebody says something in the room, you gotta join in and make a funny comment about it. And they're always on edge. Or maybe you don't even say anything mean or snarky or disrespectful, but the tone that you use suggests that even though what you didn't say is necessarily bad. Have you guys ever done that? Have you guys ever noticed that? What we say and how we say it often carries more power than we realize. And like I said, it is stuff that maybe we'll say and 15 seconds later, forget it, but it only takes one word and one time to change the life of somebody else, in a good way or a bad way. And most of the time, it happens in a bad way, right? So what do? I mean, we have to use our words to communicate, obviously. We are not all mute. We live in a society to where verbal communication is the main communication way. How do we communicate during conflict without losing our control? You know, without losing our cool? How do we communicate in a way that creates stronger friendships and healthier relationships while also making a way for honesty, right? So we've been in the book of Proverbs these last couple of weeks, and its main purpose is to really teach us wisdom and the best way to live. So we're going to take a look one more time to see what pro tip that we can learn today when it comes to our words. So let's pull up the scripture for tonight. So maybe you guys have heard this scripture, and maybe I think we've even talked about this before in youth group. So this scripture here, Proverbs 15:1, says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." So let me say that one more time. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So like many verses in Proverbs, it really is, it's really communicating two different choices or paths, almost opposites even. So in this case, we have a choice when it comes to how we use our words. So let's start with the second half of this verse here, or the second choice that we have. So it says, a harsh word stirs up anger, right? A harsh word stirs up anger. So at this point, it would probably be helpful to define what a harsh word is, right? You could keep that scripture up there. Thanks, Joey. So I would say harsh words are really just unpleasant words that are usually spoken with an angry tone, or usually with the intention of shutting down the conversation, maybe proving a point, or hurting someone, right? So that's what a harsh word is. Shutting it down, ending a conversation, proving a point, or hurting somebody. So if you've recently been in trouble, or maybe in an argument or a disagreement, you probably know what a harsh word is. You could probably think of a conversation to where that's happened. You felt that urge to say something sarcastic or rude or disrespectful just because you really want to make that other person hurt a little bit, or you want to bring them to where you're feeling, right? Now let's go back to this first answer. The different choice when it comes to using our words. So it says a gentle word or gentle answer turns away wrath. Did you guys know that gentle words make it a lot harder to be mad when you're gentle with things? Guys, Jesus was a really great example of this. So there's this one example in the Bible where Jesus' best friend John, he writes about these religious leaders that put Jesus in this situation to where they're basically trying to con Jesus into making a statement that would allow them to either stone a woman or take Jesus to court. Because during that time, there are certain laws regarding certain social things that would happen. And so stoning somebody, if we don't know what that is, it's literally throwing rocks at a person to either severely hurt them or even kill them. Like, it's a really horrible thing. So back in that time, there was literally laws to where if you did something that you could get stoned for. Or if you didn't follow through on that, that other person that was supposed to do that would have to go to court and be judged for that. So, what does Jesus do in this situation? So, in this really intense moment to where this woman's life is on the line here, he stoops down, he writes in the dirt, and eventually says something that people still talk about and point out to this day or repeat to this day. So, to the angry leaders, he basically says this. He says, "Whoever is perfect, whoever has never sinned and never made any mistakes in their lives, throw the first stone and start the process to kill her." Right? Super intense. So what he's saying to those people is, if you who are without having made any mistakes in your life, go ahead and rightly stone her because you have never made a mistake. You don't know what it feels like to make a mistake. So what happens to that vengeful crowd? They leave. Thank you. They walk away because nobody in that crowd was without blame of making a mistake, right? They were judging her for something that they have maybe made mistakes and done in the past. But guys, the point of that is that in the same way that Jesus' response, it was gentleness. He writes in the dirt and says a simple thing, and then they all walk away. The same way that Jesus' response turned away an angry crowd, your words can diffuse a situation when it comes to somebody's harshness or anger with you. Friends, your gentle words can literally turn away their anger. I mean, think about it. When your mom or your brother or somebody you're fighting with, when you speak nicely to them, it makes it really hard for them to keep escalating the argument, right? If you keep on being nice and calm and gentle with them, it makes it really hard for them to continue going at you with that anger because it's kind of a diffusing thing. If they say something awful and you respond with gentleness, it makes it really, really awkward for them to keep on coming at you, right? Has somebody ever done that to you? And you're like, well, now I kind of feel like a jerk for being mean about it. Guys, when it comes to dealing with conflict and argument, wisdom says that technically we have two choices. We can either respond with gentle words or harsh ones. Because really in a conflict, those are really the only two sides we could go here. It's either kindness or harshness. If we want to shut down the conversation, have tension in our relationships, harsh words are obviously the clear choice, right? If we want to just obliterate the relationship, keep on being mean. But here's what wisdom teaches us. If you want to be heard in an argument or in a conversation, use gentle words. And let's clarify, guys. When I say gentleness, it is not a weakness to be gentle. It's actually the opposite. Guys, it's power under control. Gentleness is wisdom flexing its muscles, which means it's also not compensating on what's true. Just because you're being gentle doesn't mean you're not still being honest. You're saying it in a gentle, careful way. You have the power to impact people either positively or negatively with your words. Guys, when it comes to dealing with conflict in your relationships, the question you have to ask yourself is, Would you rather make a point or would you rather be heard? Because there's a difference between those two. They're not the same thing. When we're making a point, it's about our ability to clap back at that person and shut down the conversation. It's about winning. It's about proving that you are right. It's about who has the wittiest comeback, and you say that what you want to say, and that's that. And guys, maybe it even feels good in the moment to be able to make a point, to be able to show them that you're right, to be able to shut down that conversation and they don't get to say anything else about it. But when one side wins, the relationship loses. And that's the thing that we miss when we're trying to prove a point. Now, the other thing, being heard, means to communicating clearly. Guys, this happens when you intentionally do everything in your power to make sure that the other person understands you, and not just what you are saying, guys. This isn't flawless, and sometimes you could get to the end of a conversation and there's still misunderstanding in it. But it's doing everything in your power to personally make sure that both sides are being heard. But no matter what, you can watch your tone. You can choose your words carefully because you value the relationship more than winning in that moment, right? So what does this look like in real life, being heard? So the first thing is, if you want to be heard, then you have to be the first one to actually hear. And let me rephrase that. If you're going to be heard, you must be the first one to listen first, right? This automatically sets you up to respond more gently. Because after hearing out the other side, it can sound like maybe responding with, okay, so what I heard you saying is, and then you say it. You're not trying to put in your own 2 cents. You're just literally repeating back with what you hear with the heart of trying to understand where they're coming from. Because friends, if the other person feels heard and understood, they feel connected, and they will be more likely to listen to you too when it's your time to talk. Being heard is about learning how to listen first. And then the second thing is to consider taking a time out. Because there is some moments to where we're going to be in the heat of the moment, and nothing we do is going to change the fact that we're probably going to say something mean, or we're not in a place where we could hear clearly. There is points in my relationship with my husband, Josh, to where we're getting in a heated argument about something because people fight, it's normal, like it's not going to go away. And we will have this thing to where we say to each other, hey, I'm at the point to where I'm done listening to what you're saying. I can't listen to you in a healthy way, so I'm going to go and take a break for a little bit. Because what that does is it helps you calm down. It helps you realize that most of the time they're not out to get you. And it helps you be able to understand the other person's perspective and to come back and listen to them without that anger, without that feeling of fight or flight, if you get what I mean. So friends, imagine how different your friendships and relationships would be if we used more gentleness in the words that we used. Think about the impact on your school, the community, even the world, if everybody used gentleness. Using gentle words can maybe make the biggest difference when it comes to our relationships, both on the way others experience you and in the way that you are heard by others. So friends, as we head out to small groups tonight, I want you to think about this question. How are you currently using the power of your words? Are you being the snarky one? In an argument, are you the one that's trying to win it? Are you trying to listen to what the other person's saying, or are you just trying to prove your point? Think about that. What is the thing that you mostly do, and then how can you start taking steps to bring that gentleness back into those relationships?